Okay, and this one we're going to smooth by looking at the medians. And we prefer to use odd. And the reason we prefer to use odd, because they can be easily found and we can do it graphically, so we don't have to do any calculation. So the idea of this, and we can do it on 3, 5, 7. We wouldn't put a look at the 3 and 5, but you could do it by 7 as well. So let's have a look at this. So what you're doing is you're looking at the 3 x values, and you're going to look at essentially these 3 in the first time, the 3 y values. So when I do that, what I mean is the position of my middle one on the x is here. Okay, so that's for, and I should have made it clear, that's for that, and that. All right, so let's get rid of this for the moment. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at. Then I look at the position of from the y. So if I'm looking sort of going up or down here, the first one is here, my second one is there, and my third one is there. So basically I'm looking at this height. So I go, and there's my first point. So I can get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of sort of everything else from there, because I'm going to do the next one. But that's my first point. So my next one, I'm looking at this value, and this value. So it's sort of easy on the x because it's the middle one here. It's dot, 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 dot. Okay. And if we look at the y, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So that means, in this case, it's going to be on the dot here. So that's where my point is. So I can get rid of the rest of them. I'm going to keep that spot there. Well, because I'll make it a little bit clearer for you, but that, because it actually, in this case, it landed on it. Next one, though, I'm going to be looking at 1, 2, 3. Okay, so my x position is here. My y position, now I'm going to go, so it's going to go 1, 2. So you've got to look at what happens as you go up like that. So 1, 2, 3. So that means it's a like dot here. So there's my line. Okay. So let's get rid of this part here. All right. So as you can see, I've got my first 3 dots first. Can you see why with this one you can actually do it a lot more? You can do it graphically because you visualize it. So here I'm going to go some April, May, June. So it's going to be on this line here. Okay. And then I'll go 1, 2, because it's these 3, 3. So it's going to be on here, dot, 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 dot across to it. There's that's where my line's going to be. Okay. And again, I can, after that point, oops, I did it in the wrong spot. So, oops. So it should have been there. My bad on that one. Okay, I was wondering why it looked a bit weird there. And you continue that across. And what will happen is, so let's have a look at the 3 mean smooth. So it's basically what we got. We went from here. Let's highlight it. We did from there to there, and we did up to there. So you can sort of see, hang on, sorry, I went there, that looks better, and there, okay? We hadn't continued with the rest, but you can keep going with that. Now 5, I'll just quickly do 1, to show what I mean. I'd go my first 5 data points, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my middle one is going to be here. And I look at my first 5 data points. So I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my third data point, so that's where my first point's going to be. Does that match to what we got here? Yes, it does. Okay. Oh, sorry, it should have been on that line, that crosshair there. That matches up to that. Our next one, I'll do it a bit clearer for you. It was on this one here. So then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my middle point's going to be somewhere along here. And then I'm going to go, what's the first one? So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to be up here. Close enough to there. Okay. So then I'm going to go erase that one. And that matches up to what we see here. Okay. So that matches up to that. And that's what you do. That's what we talk about when we talk about smoothing with a moving median. It's sort of that process, and you keep going through. It's over 3 or 5, and you can see what happens. With the smoothing, first one, the 3 over here, it smoothed it a bit, but this has clearly smoothed it out. Okay, quite a big difference in the smoothing there. Keep in mind, if I'm doing a 3, I don't have a data point there or a data point here. If I do 5, I don't have data points in the first 2 or the last 2. So if you get 12, say in this case 12 bits of data, what happens is if you put answers in where I've sort of indicated here, you got a chance you're going to lose marks because you've only got the certain data here. So if you've got a 5, let's wipe some of this stuff off so it's less. So, if you're doing a 5 median smoothing, this is the data you should be having there and then plotting. You don't plot 12 points there. You're basically going to be plotting 8 points on your graph, and that's perfectly fine. If you did the same up here, okay. If you're plotting, if you've done a 3 median smoothing, you would need to potentially plot that up. Okay, that's probably more like a SAC type question as opposed to an exam, because they're probably not going to have to do all that in exam. But keep in mind, that's what you should have. You shouldn't be plotting across all 12. Okay, especially in an exam, in a SAC type question, because that's more where you're going to have to show some of that extra detail of those steps and be able to plot that, as opposed to an exam where you're going to get questions a bit more like what I'm showing here. All right, so in the example here, it says the time series plot below shows the number of calls each month to a call center. Cool. So we've got quite a few. We've got 12 months worth of data there. All right. The plot is to be smoothed out using 5-point median smoothing. Cool. The smooth number of calls for the month number 10 is closest to. Now, this is what we've got to look at. We're only looking at, so I don't need to do anything else but to look at month 10. Okay, smooth number of calls for month 10. So that means what I'm looking at is this is essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the X. On the Y, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my data here is I'm going to go up along here and cross here, and so it'd be there. So my answer would be 375, and our answer for that one is 375. So I only have to put the 10. The 10 is the middle. So that's an exam style question where, especially in the multiple choice, where they're asking you to be able to show that. Now, if, for example, they said for number 4, let's make it number 5, for month 5, what I would have to do is I'd have to look at the other two sides. Those are my 5 points that I've got. So then I'd be looking at, so this is clearly going to be where my X is. So you're looking basically for the Y. So in this case, I'd be looking at, say that's 1, because that's the first one. That's the second one. That's the third one. That's the fourth, and that's the fifth. Okay, so my data is going to be there. So it would be, in this case, 360. So if you had that as an example, if it was month 5, the answer would be 360. And that's what you've got to do in a question set up like that. And that was an exam question. And that's how you have to approach an exam question like that. Okay. And again, this would be, I'm trying to think, yeah, so again, you might, I'd probably say you might get this, but it's probably less likely. I'd say less likely. But look, you could. And this, I mean, this was from 2003, so it could be different now. But you know, if this was an example of three median smoothing, this is what you'd expect to get as an answer. Okay, as you go through. I'm not going to go to, that'll take too long. It'll make these videos way too long. So let's not do that. Okay, so that's how you work something like that out. All right. So yeah, okay. Thank you. Bye.